pretty happy with that first half last weekend.
Yeah, listen, we would have loved to have continued on that that competitiveness in the third quarter, but unfortunately, Essendon are a good side, and I think it was about 8 or 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they were 14 points in front, and then they scored 4 pretty quick goals, and the margin split out a little bit. But we're pleased we're competitive. We won 2 of the quarters against a good side. Albeit we didn't win by big margins in those 2 quarters, but still it's a positive step forward for us, and we're in the game at half time, which we'd been unable to be in for a period of time, so that was pleasing. But as our challenge always presents, can we do it for longer into games, and that'll be our challenge again this week against a really good side in Port Adelaide.
Does it give you a little bit of confidence going into that?
Oh, well, certainly that you can compete and be in games, and we know that Port Adelaide side, you see what they did a couple of weeks ago when they went down to Geelong and kicked 8 in the first quarter. So they're a very, very talented side, and led to believe that Rosie will be back for them this week, so that'll make it even a little bit tougher. But the fact that we're able to, Essendon are second on the ladder for a reason. They've played some really good footy, and we're able to compete pretty well for them in 3 out of the 4 quarters. So if we can continue to just work on what we're working on and give ourselves a chance to be in games, then it gives us confidence that at some point in time, if we can just sustain it a bit longer, that a win might be not too far away for us.
Is it a mindset thing, do you think?
No, I think it's just a part of it is game plan. Part of it is just young players playing footy in the early part of their careers. So some of it is just synergy, and that's the thing that we're really, really mindful of too. And it's quite often the case. Us and Richmond, I think, are the 2 sides that have used the most players to this point in the season, and just getting that. Some of it's through injury, some of it's just through spinning the wheels and the magnets a little bit, just trying to find the right balance. But what you do know is a side like Sydney. I think Sydney have got 17 or 18 players that have played every game this year. So that synergy of actually playing together, and that's what we're trying to build. And when you can get the right mix of it, it usually means that you're winning games of footy. And because you're not winning, you keep trying to churn a little bit just to try to find the ones that might get the mix right for you. And that's a little bit of a difficult process to go through, but all sides that are in the bottom half of the ladder are usually going through that process, and particularly us and the Tigers at the moment.
The way that you started the game would suggest that the morale's pretty good in the club, because you're not beaten before you run out there. Obviously the players are up for it.
Yeah. We can't question the morale and the effort of the guys. Their willingness to come into the club every day and try to get better and improve. Nothing's dropped off in terms of any of their training or their weights or their sitting down with their coaches and looking at the vision of their games and their preparation. So we've got to the culture of the place is strong. And the morale is great, and at some point in time, that's going to turn into a little bit of luck for us. We'll have a win somewhere along the line, but and then the challenge then is can we get back to back and become consistent winners, and that's something we were certainly aspiring to, and something we need to get to sooner rather than later.
You've got a few players that are potentially in the mix for selection, Callum Dawson being one. So how do you expect them to sort of fit in if they're ready to go?
Yeah, well, he hasn't played for I think he hasn't played since the Geelong game. He was out. He hurt his ankle in a training mishap before the Cats game. So that's 6 weeks ago. So he'll come back through the VFL and just sort of try to build some match fitness through there. And but we're looking forward to having him return. Braden George returns to playing this week as well, and Hugh Green, but a couple of others who missed last week. So that'll help with the depth of our footy club, and just give us a little bit of stability and continuity with both the sides, whether it's Box Hill, whether it's North Melbourne, or whether it's the North Senior side. So that'll be something that's good for us. Numbers on the track is always a good thing.
And you've got Core playing his 150th this week. So what sort of impact has he provided amongst a relatively young playing group?
Yeah, well, gee, he played on Langford last week. Langford scored a goal in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, but he did a terrific job. Langford's I think he was in the top 3 or 4 goal kickers for the year. So he played a terrific game for us last week. A couple of weeks earlier he played on King at St Kilda and negated his influence as well. So we've been really pleased with his contribution over the last 3 or 4 weeks in particular, after a bit of a scratchy start to his season. But he's a pretty important player to our back end.
Charlie Coleman spent a little bit of time at the rehab group this morning. Is he right to go?
Yeah, he's been carrying a bit of a shoulder for the whole of the year. That they're just like stingers, and he manages it from time to time. But at different stages, we'll pull him out of the contact work at training, and just so he doesn't aggravate it at training. But it's fine to play. He's played all games this year, and it's a little bit of a pain for him that if he goes to spoil or gets a knock on it, just gets a little bit of shooting pain and discomfort for a very, very short period of time, and then he gets back into it. So we just try to protect him from those sort of incidents at training.
How's he tracking?
Yeah, well, he's not going to play this week. He's been really, really close and tried to train and play for the last 3 games, and just got to the line and not being quite there. But in the whole process of trying to get there, just probably sets him back a bit for the next week. So we've just decided to use the opportunity. We've got the bye next week, so we'll try to use this. It's a little bit the same with McKercher. Both those guys could nearly play this week, but it's just not worth taking the risk with them, and then maybe have that implicate their second half of the year. So we've just chosen, whether it's the right way or not, I'm not sure, but we've just chosen to try to get them right for the footy after the bye, and hopefully they can have really productive second halves of the year.
Brad Scott said he's going to ask the AFL at the end of the year to review the MRO. He doesn't believe that those who it's guilty before being found innocent type of way after Harry Jones's tackle on Zach. What do you think about that? Should the AFL look into reviewing it?
Oh, it's a difficult one. I'm sure the AFL, they're constantly looking at the best way that they can do that stuff, and they're always difficult scenarios. Fortunately for us, we haven't been in MRO trouble throughout the course of the year to make really, really good judgments. Usually the reason why you get implicated in these sort of questions is when it's your player. And so that's why Brad's implicated in this, because it's his player. So he feels really, really strongly about it, whilst the issue is right there and there with them. Because it hasn't been as emotional a response for us, because we haven't been implicated by it. We haven't even thought one way or the other about whether it's good, bad or otherwise, the MRO. But at different stages, it's just like umpiring decisions and skill errors by players. It's just like you just don't always get them right. And but it's a difficult scenario. But I'm sure the AFL are always looking at ways that they can do things better.
Talking of the AFL, I read something about the competitive balance review. Do you have any thoughts sort of on that, and how you can entice players to come to the bottom clubs, stop them from leaving?
Yeah. Well, once again, it is a difficulty one, because there's the way that our game is structured. It's an uneven draw. There's advantages for some clubs that, in terms of crowds, in terms of the capacity of stadiums, and TV games, whatever it is. Nothing is actually equal in the competition, despite this socialistic model that tries to have it as equal as possible. So, what will be one club's advantage will be another club's significant disadvantage, and the competitive balance of that is the AFL sitting there trying to marry up where one club might get a significant advantage on one thing. Where can another club try to get their advantage? So that's a real delicate balancing act for the AFL, and I think they're doing it as best they possibly can. But it is a very, very difficult exercise, but a little bit like the MRO stuff. They're the best ones in the best position. They're the regulators of the game, and they'll make their judgments on what they think is best in terms of the competitive balance. But by and large, in a nutshell, their model is actually working, because over the last 20 years, every side outside of Gold Coast have played off in a preliminary final. And to get into a preliminary final, you've got to have won, dare say, 15 games for the year. So that, for me, recognises success in the competition, not just winning silverware, but being able to get yourself into a prelim final. So the model itself of giving everyone an opportunity is really, really strong. But once again, when it becomes emotional about one particular club, they'll fight pretty hard. So there's no disadvantages to that club at all, and it's all advantages. But the AFL's not going to let that happen. So they'll work it out. They're the best ones that are regulating the game to make those sort of decisions.